$1 million jailbreak on iOS 9. Soon Google can respond to emails for you, and why a few digital hoarders ruined everything for the rest of us. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 459 for Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/EcoTank to find out more. Welcome, I'm Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. Bug bounty startup Zerodium announced that someone has claimed the $1 million prize they were offering for anyone who could hack an iPhone running iOS 9.1. According to Zerodium, a team of hackers have come up with a method to remotely trick any iPhone or iPad into visiting a malicious website. Zerodium describes that technique as a jailbreak, but they've also called it a zero-day hacking technique that a government or anyone else could potentially use for surveillance. Zerodium is a privately held venture-backed startup. Their official description is a premium exploit acquisition platform. They're not offering this bounty out of the goodness of their own hearts, and now that they've bought and paid for this so-called jailbreak, Zerodium plans to report all acquired security information to its clients, along with protective measures and security recommendations. The company also offers solutions for corporations and governments, which sounds just a little bit menacing. According to Wired, Zerodium won't immediately report the vulnerabilities to Apple, though it might tell them later to help develop a patch against the attack. The pursuit of productivity and collaboration, that's the reason Microsoft is giving for breaking their promise to provide unlimited storage on OneDrive. Yesterday, the company announced that they were making changes to their unlimited storage plans for consumers after a small number of people used more than 75 terabytes of storage. That's 14,000 times the average. Office 365 Home, Personal, and University subscribers will now be limited to a paltry 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage, and 100 gigabyte and 200 gigabyte paid plans will be replaced with a 50 gig plan for $1.99 per month. That's starting in 2016. If you're on the free plan, you'll be limited to 5 gigs. Microsoft's 15 gig camera roll storage bonus will also be discontinued. Unlimited customers will be notified if they've breached their limits, and they will have 12 months to find some other sucker to store their selfies. If you've exceeded the 5 gigs of free storage, you will be notified, and you'll also have a year to go elsewhere. In their blog post today, Microsoft added they will now offer a free 1-year Office 365 personal subscription, which includes the aforementioned 1 terabyte of free storage. Prorated refunds will be given to customers who no longer want to use the service in light of the changes. Gmail just got smarter. According to the official Google blog, Inbox by Gmail will now anticipate which of your emails you can respond to quickly. It will even prepare a few replies for you to choose from. The new feature is called Smart Reply, not to be confused with a similar feature on the Apple Watch called Smart Replies. Does the same thing. Apple Watch, however, does not record your replies and grow smarter as you use it. Smart Replies in Inbox will use machine learning to use the responses you choose or don't choose to help improve future suggestions. Smart Reply will roll out on the Google Inbox app on Android and iOS later this week. Recode reports that Twitter engineering manager Leslie Miley has left the company, citing diversity issues. Miley was the only black engineer in a leadership position at Twitter. TechCrunch says the former Twitter employee was laid off in October's massive job cuts, but that he had already told the company that he was planning to leave based on his experiences there. Megan Rose Dickey at TechCrunch also says Miley was offered a severance package, which he refused, presumably so he could talk about his experiences working at a company where only 3% of engineering and product are African American or Hispanic, and less than 15% are women. Miley has an excellent post on Medium describing his struggle. It's definitely worth the read. Coming up, do you like me or am I your favorite? That is the question that everyone on Twitter is secretly asking themselves today. But first, this episode is brought to you by Epson. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. It uses an innovative refillable ink tank. Comes with enough ink to print up to 8,500 pages. That's equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors and laser-quality black text, plus auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. Visit Epson.com/ecotank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's epson.com/ecotank. And we thank Epson for their support. Today, Twitter replaced the iconic favorite icon of the star with a heart icon, and most of Twitter went completely insane about it. That's probably an exaggeration. But many people got very worked up about the change, which probably scientifically proves that some people should go outside more often. Vine also made the change from stars to hearts. Hearts is meant to signify a like, as on Instagram. Twitter says they're doing this to make Twitter easier and more rewarding to use. A star, Twitter says, can be confusing to newcomers because you can like a lot of things, but not everything can be your favorite. Joining us to talk about why this change matters or not is Kurt Wagner from Recode. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So what do you think is behind this change from stars to hearts?
This dramatic world-ending change. Well, as you mentioned, I mean, Twitter is trying to do two things with this. One, they're trying to make it a little bit easier to understand for new folks. So if you log in and you see a heart, I think generally the idea of liking something is familiar because you already do that on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or whatever it may be. But I think what they're also trying to do is increase engagement. And so as you pointed out, their argument is that you can like everything or a lot of things. You can't have a ton of favorites because that defeats the purpose. I think what Twitter folks would argue is that the favorite had become multi-purpose, right? I mean, you could fave something because you thought it was ironic. You could fave it because it was funny, because you wanted to bookmark it for later. The whole idea of liking something, I'm sure, will carry all those same connotations for some people, but to a lot of people, you know, it means something totally different. So it's really just a matter of how you perceive that one action. And yeah, people are kind of freaking out about it, which is probably a little unnecessary, but it's made for entertaining Twitter, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably. It is interesting because I think, like you said, they're trying to attract new users, people who aren't using Twitter. But I'm wondering if it's an age thing, too, because when I think of favorite, it's a bookmark. That's what we used to, I mean, that's what they called it on Internet Explorer. It was a favorite back in the day. And so, you know, you never thought like, oh, could I only have one favorite website? That was the language that you used. But, you know, you talk about kids these days, like is the language they use. They're not, you know, adding a bunch of bookmarks. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. So do you think they're going after younger people?
I think that they're going after mainstream people. And I think that what Facebook has done is Facebook has made the whole idea of liking something mainstream. So even if you're not a Facebook user, you may have heard, you know, of you're familiar with the Facebook like. And so I think that is probably a little bit more so than a specific age group. It's just that they want to be more relevant to the mass general public that doesn't necessarily use Twitter. And so, you know, what's kind of ironic actually is that Facebook has been running into issues with its like button, which is why a bunch of people said, hey, we want a dislike button, right? Because if I go to Facebook and I see that, you know, a family friend is sick, I don't necessarily want to like that. I want to express some kind of other emotion to it. So Facebook's been adding the option to do, you know, multiple buttons like, oh, this makes me sad, or this makes me laugh, or this makes me cry. And now all of a sudden Twitter is into the like button. And so it's probably only a matter of time before everyone goes, well, what do I do when something's really unhappy on Twitter and I don't want to like it, I want to dislike it, you know? So what's Twitter going to do then? We'll see. Facebook's already dealing with that issue.
It is interesting. I mean, with just like a tweet, do you feel like you have to show a lot of empathy for tweets? Like, I don't think I see a lot of tweets that I'm confused about how to feel about them.
Maybe now you will. Now that you have to heart something, maybe, you know, when you come across something really, it's a big bummer and you wanted to fave it because, you know, there was an understanding that fave just meant you were acknowledging that it was there for some reason. Now you're not going to want to, you know, quote unquote, like it. I don't really know. Like I said, for me, I don't see this as a huge groundbreaking change, but I do understand that these words and these feelings that, you know, they mean a lot to certain people. And so I think that there is reason that people are freaking out about it. I just think if you come back a week from now, maybe a lot of that initial angst will be subdued. So we'll see.
So what are some of the other things that Twitter is doing to bring more mainstream people there?
So we've talked about Twitter Moments, which is a new product they launched at the beginning of October. And what that is it's a kind of a multimedia package of tweets. So if you go to Twitter and you go to Moments, it may have a Major League Baseball playoffs moment. So you could click on that and you would see, 10, 15, 20 tweets that are all about the playoff game that's going on in real life. And so you're able to follow along with specific events that are happening on Twitter, and it makes it really easy to find stuff on the service that's otherwise not very easy to find. So I think that is one example of something that they're doing. I mean, they've already, this was a while back, but they changed their homepage. So if you went to twitter.com, but you didn't have a Twitter account, for the longest time, all you would see was the empty login screen where you were supposed to put your username and password. And if you didn't have one, I guess you would just move on to somewhere else on the internet. But now they have all kinds of tweets and all kinds of videos on their homepage. So even if you don't have an account, you can still consume a lot of that content. And I think the hope is that people who don't use Twitter will go to Twitter to check out what's happening. They'll consume a few of those tweets without creating an account, and they'll say, wow, this is pretty great. Now I want to get in and see what else they have to offer. So those are a few of the things that they're trying to do. It's been a big push from their new CEO, Jack Dorsey, their new old CEO, Jack Dorsey, to make, to grow Twitter's user base.
Is there any proof that any of this is working at all?
Not if you look at their actual user numbers. So they reported earnings last week. I think they added, I'm off the top of my head, I want to say they added maybe like 7 million new users over the previous quarter, which for them is really not that many. And a lot of those were actually, I think about half of them were actually what are called SMS fast followers. So they're people primarily in emerging markets who get tweets as text messages instead of actually going to the Twitter app. So that's a long way of saying they're not adding users very quickly, and it's been a critique of the company now, basically since they went public two plus years ago. And so I don't think that when you look around that any of these products are necessarily making a dramatic change in their user base right now. But then again, I mean, Moments has been out for a month, right? And this whole Hearts thing, if that's actually going to bring people on or make it easier to use, that's been here for what, 12 hours? So I guess we should come back in a quarter or two and see if those numbers have jumped up a little bit. But as of right now, it doesn't seem to be working all that well.
Yeah, I think my favorite tweet was from Derek Powazak. He was one of the original creators, creative director at Blogger. He said, this feels like this is just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Do you agree?
I'm not yet ready to say that I'm not really ready to call Twitter the Titanic. I think that there's too many people who use it and too many people who get a lot of value from it. I mean, maybe it's the kind of thing where Twitter's just always kind of going to be a service around this size, right? And that doesn't mean they make a lot of money. The company makes good money from the people that do use it. It's meeting its revenue expectations pretty much every quarter, which is what Wall Street wants. It's just a matter of like, is it going to be to Facebook size? Probably not. But does that make it the Titanic? I'm not sure I agree with that. But it was a funny tweet. I agree with you, and I do think the point of that is that they're focusing on changing this favorite button to a like button when there are much bigger issues that the company needs to tackle. I think that is a valid argument, and you'd really have to convince me that changing this is going to dramatically increase engagement. Perhaps it will, and all of us will sit here and feel bad that we tease Twitter about it. But on the surface, changing from heart to star doesn't seem like the dramatic change that the company probably needs right now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that. I don't know if this was his point or your point, but yeah, like just getting mainstream people there. How about make it easier to report, report trolls or report people impersonating you, or to do something about how easy it is to anonymously just spread hate through Twitter. So
right, yeah, that's if you really want to get down to it, I mean, that's been Twitter's biggest issue, not from a business standpoint necessarily, but from just a user experience standpoint, is that people, especially women in particular, get harassed on Twitter way too much. And it's a crummy experience for those people. And they're not going to come back to Twitter if every time they log in, they have creepo jerks and internet trolls leaving them inappropriate comments. And so the company has, made some efforts around that, of course, but it's not perfect. And yet here we are with the heart star thing. So I think some people, that's why it bothers them, right? They see these bigger issues that maybe aren't being addressed as quickly. At the same time, I mean, shoot, how long could it have taken to switch out these two symbols? I can't imagine very long. So hopefully they didn't waste too much time on this. And it was just like a quick update and on to the next thing.
Well, Kurt Wagner, thank you so much. It's always great to get your opinion on all the changes on Twitter, not the Titanic. Kurt Wagner is a reporter at Recode, at Kurt Wagner 8 on Twitter. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
And finally tonight, HBO says that former Daily Show host Jon Stewart has signed a 4-year contract to create short-form digital content for the streaming services HBO Go and HBO Now. Stewart will work with cloud graphics company Otoy Incorporated to develop new technology to produce 2 to 5 minute shows that will be refreshed on HBO Now throughout the day. Stewart will not appear on camera. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We're on iTunes, we're on YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, and you can watch us on 3 different apps on your Apple TV. You can also subscribe to this show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.